Hi, everyone. Welcome to ARC Encounter. I'm your host, Maha, and I'm excited to walk on this ARC path with you. Today, we will encounter confidence and hope through the lens of mindset. I'm excited to see how we can grow from this segment. Our guide today, Casey Cox, will take us along this journey where we may encounter a special VIP along the way. Now, let's get you started on an ARC Encounter journey with this video.
AHRK is the lifestyle path to better choices. It empowers us to live life to the fullest and paves the way for people like you and me to discover our unique purpose and passion. Choosing to walk the AHRK path invites transformation and growth in 5 key areas of life: leadership, communication, mindset, community, and lifestyle. As we dive into these lenses, they redirect our focus and guide us into a deeper understanding of where we're at today and where we're going tomorrow. This is ARC Encounter.
Hey, well, it's good to be with you, and today is a special day because we get to be together on the ARC Encounter. That video always reminds me that there's so many ways to look at life, and the 5 lenses, they awaken me to believe in what is possible. And I believe that all things are possible, especially when you have the right mindset. Mindset is that lens that you look through to understand. It's a paradigm, which is a really big word of saying, hey, how do you make sense of things? And how is it that you come to a conclusion about what you're going to do and why you're going to do it? And so today, as we engage a mindset of confidence and hope, I am just really excited for what we're going to get in here, because confidence and hope, it is a mindset, it is an understanding, and you can have confidence and hope even before you reach success. In fact, in my opinion, those that reach success, it's because they found confidence and hope before they got there. And so today, I have the very special opportunity and privilege to introduce to you a guest who is truly one of a kind. And so let me introduce you to my friend, Robin Brock. Robin, are you with us now today?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm here.
And so, Robin, where are you?
I am in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
She's in Kansas. Now, not just anywhere in Kansas. I have the privilege to introduce to you Mrs. Kansas, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit more why that is later. But what we believe in the ARC Encounter is that our guests are truly unarguable. Now, that doesn't mean they're always right. It just means they're unarguable because they trust their values, and they express their values with confidence. Our guests are always unshakable. And they're unshakable because their identity has been tested, and they are undeniable. It means that their purpose is transformative. When they walk into the room is going to change. And I can guarantee for you, what you're about to hear with Robin is going to raise your level of knowing somebody that says, wow, is that what value and identity and purpose looks like? So Robin, welcome to the ARC Encounter. Why don't you share a little bit with us about your value? What is it that you hold near and dear inside of you that drives you forward as a value system?
Well, first of all, thank you, Casey, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. As far as values go for me, what I value above all else is my relationship with my higher power that I call God. That's what allows me and empowers me to live the life that I get to live and be authentic and genuine with everyone that I encounter.
And you know, I love that both you made it accessible for anybody as you address it as a higher power. But a value is something everybody can have the same value, or anybody can not have that value. That doesn't really define us per se, because there's a lot of people that would address a higher power and they'd go a different path. But as we step into identity, there's something that pushes us out, and it helps us show up in the world a little bit different. So your value behind you is coming out in your identity. So Robin, how do people come to know you? Explain why I tipped the hat and said you're Mrs. Kansas, but you're so much more than Mrs. Kansas. So tell us some of those things.
Well, yes, I am Mrs. Kansas, International 2021 currently. And that is a huge honor to be able to represent the women of Kansas and our value system as a culture here in Southeast Kansas and the entire state. That's a little bit about me, but I'm also a wife. I'm a mother. I have 2 boys. They are 14 and 10. and I have a full-time career as well. So I get to work in the professional world. I get to be a, a regular woman in the world. I'm a friend. I'm a sister, and I'm a mentor for other women who are looking for a better way of life and hopeful that they can improve their lives as well. So I have many hats.
You know, Robin, you describe yourself as a regular woman, and I'm just going to tell you right now that every guest, every person that's watching this is going to go, no, you're not regular. You're not even ordinary. You're extraordinary. But here's why I think you're extraordinary. You're extraordinary because you put your purpose in action. Everybody has a VIP in them, but not everybody's living it out. And so one of the reasons that I count it a privilege to be here with you today is because I get to invite you to share a little bit of that purpose that you push out into the world and you live it out. This is that undeniable aspect. So how would you couch your purpose? What are you doing to make the world a better place?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Thank you. Well, I have many reasons that are my purpose. I can't say that I have one, and I think that my purpose has changed over the years. And one of the great joys of living life is rolling with those changes and growing and acknowledging that I can change my direction and I can move into my purpose for this season. And currently in this season, my purpose is to transmit hope to the world because 6 years ago, I didn't have any. And the truth is that I was on death's doorstep. Prison was knocking at my door, and I was about to lose either my life or my freedom. And I had to make some changes. So, as a result of my surrender to God, my higher power, I have been blessed with a life that is extraordinary. But, who I am as a person, I truly am a regular person. I'm a real person who's had some major struggles. And I am extraordinary in the fact that I was able to remove myself from that equation and kind of kill that ego and
Amen.
recognize that my life is meant to serve. And so now I get to help walk women through the 12 steps of recovery in a program that I practice. And I get to share my message of hope on a larger level, even transcending the recovery world from substance abuse, and understand that we're all recovering from something. It might not be substance abuse, but we're all struggling with an addiction to something, whether it's technology or shopping or being busy or workaholics, whatever you want to call it. And so I get to talk about my experience and help people understand that no matter how hopeless things seem, they can and will get better.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what we're here to talk about today is the fact that, well, you had a transformative experience that changed your life. We believe, you and I together, Robin, we believe that anybody can have a transformative experience. And that's exactly what the AHRK Encounter is about. It's so that you today can encounter a hope and build your confidence to go forward. So let's make a journey down the AHRK path and pull out a little bit about mindset and how it is that we encounter this renewed mind as we engage the world around us. So as we begin down the AHRK path, we start with acknowledgement. And really what acknowledgement invites us to do is make a choice. It invites us to choose, what do we perceive to be real? And as I say real, some of us might just think, oh, that's real because it's right in front of me. But there's so many more things going on in the world around us than what you see that's right in front of you. And so as Robin, as you had an experience, your eyes were open to a whole lot more options. Like at one point, I mean, let's be honest, you weren't always Mrs. Kansas. You even kind of just shared that 6 years ago something happened. How did your mindset change as you acknowledged things that were not being seen? How did that happen? Invite us into the opening up of your eyes. What did you have to acknowledge for your life to follow suit?
Well, the first thing that had to happen was I had to become teachable. So before that happened, I thought that I had the answer somewhere inside of me. So I was facing an addiction and I thought, okay, I'm educated, I have resources, XYZ, I have all these reasons why I should be able to fix this by myself. So I went down that path and I did attempt to fix them by myself. And every single time, every single scheme I came up with, I failed. And at that point, that's where I was hopeless. And I was on my knees and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I'm going to be in prison. What can I do? And in that moment of realizing that I could not do anything, I knew that something greater than Robin had to emerge, had to show up, and I would have to put my faith in that. So what happened was I entered my program of recovery, and in our third step, we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us.
Amen.
And when I heard that step, I thought, there's hope. There's hope. And so I took that first action step, which was to place my will and my life into the care of God as I understood God.
So Robin, help me understand, as you look out into the world, not everybody is dealing or not even aware of that addiction. What are some of the common everyday things that you're finding that people are just missing? We're not here to solve it, but just as you encounter more and more people and you have a larger platform, you get to see more things. So as you just talk to the people who are listening in and go, these are some of the things that I see that people are unwilling to acknowledge or they're just missing. It's right in front of them, but how do you catch into that, or how do you key into things that you think people might be missing?
Well, it's really a conversation. So again, you have to be willing. The first step for any self-improvement, for any forward trajectory in life is, first of all, an acknowledgement that something is wrong or missing or off, and then a willingness to believe that we can improve or want to improve. And so when I'm listening to someone who's struggling with something, I think the first question is often, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
That's beautiful, and it is what we demonstrate here on an AHRK encounter, is that when I acknowledge that, look, I don't need all the answers. And so if you're listening in and you're saying, well, it must be easy for Robin to say this because look, she's Mrs. Kansas, and it must be easy for Casey to say this because he's obviously the guide of the show. This is not, the version that you're seeing of Robin and I today is not the version that we were once in the past, but we've chosen to walk along this AHRK path in our own language and our own experience, and we've chosen to say yes to healing. We've chosen to say yes to, there's more for me to learn and understand. And in taking in new information, I learned to release the things that are no longer serving me, no longer helping me. And that is the concept of healing as we look at the AHRK encounter. We simply say, is there a process for me? And the answer is yes. I release the things that don't work. I take on the things that do work. So Robin, what are some things that you do on a daily basis? Simple little things that you go, how do I release the toxic thoughts? How do I overcome? Now, I'm going to, you value vulnerability. That's a value that you didn't highlight in the first round because we've talked.
That's true.
Take us to a little bit of that vulnerable spot. Being a pageant contestant, is it easy? And what healing has to take place so you can walk that stage and show up as if you're a perfect 10?
Oh man, that is a great question. So yes, vulnerability, right? Gosh, that's the starting point for true authentic living. And so the truth is that I have to be willing to say I'm not perfect. And before I got to where I'm at now, I wasn't willing to do that. I created a facade of perfection to protect me from any sort of rejection or disappointment. And so I needed everyone to think that I was perfect. And I was working double, triple time to maintain that persona. And it was exhausting. And I failed, by the way, miserably. And so today I show up and I say, this is who I am. And some days I knock it out of the park. I won't water that down. But a lot of days I'm mediocre, and even worse, some days I'm barely working at an acceptable level. And so I'm a human. I suffer from the condition of being human, and so that's the truth about who I am. And so you might find me in glasses and yoga pants and a t-shirt some days, and that's okay. So getting back to your question, how do I find that vulnerability in pageantry, and is it easy? Absolutely not. Pageantry is hard work. I'm very fortunate that I have a team that goes with me that helps. I have an extremely supportive husband who does not give me a hard time about it. But when you see pictures of me on stage or, participating in pageant week, you can guarantee we were up at 5 o'clock in the morning, rolling and setting hair and making sure everything was perfect. And I didn't do that by myself. It takes an entire team. Um, I do not look like that on a normal basis. Even for this interview, I prepared early this morning to make sure I was camera ready. I would scare away the viewers if I would have shown up the way that I woke up, and that's the truth. So, this doesn't just happen. Pageantry is competitive by nature, but it's also subjective. So you have to really understand that on any given day, you're trying to convince 5 strangers to choose you over 50 or 60 other deserving women. And so rarely are you going to walk away with the big prize and the big crown. So pageantry is truly about service. Why am I here? I'm here for this title. Why? Because the title puts me in front of more people and draws an audience in to hear the message. It's not about exalting myself or my physical being in any way. There is a component to that, and we use our bodies to honor God. But that's not what it's about. It's about the message. And so I have to be very okay knowing that I could walk away without being acknowledged by the 5 strangers. And when I refer to them, I'm talking about the judges.
Yes.
And oftentimes that's what happens. I mean, there's so many no's before you hear a yes. I think Cindy Crawford, did she interview with like 25 different agencies and was turned away 24 times? That's just how it goes. It's all subjective. And so we have to understand that identity piece and know who we are and be so strong and unshakable in that before we put ourselves out in the world to be essentially crushed or torn apart.
Yeah. And Robin, thank you for being vulnerable, inviting us into a behind the scenes look at the pageantry and the work it takes to show up. I like to say on the AHRK path, there is no competition except yourself. And the real competition is can I show up 1% better tomorrow? And on the AHRK path, we're choosing a lifestyle of better choices, and it's anchored in a mindset that says it's possible. And so as you're listening in on Robin and my conversation, I want you to just take a deep breath and go, what does 1% look like for you tomorrow? A 1% improvement over an entire year is gonna build to a 37% increase. Amazing that your habits can set that up, and your mindset is where that takes place. And really what we're doing is we are on this path of excellence. We don't need to be perfect. Now, even Robin kind of said she's perfect and camera ready when she has her team doing the work, but that's not life, that's work. That's a performance of an experience that says, how am I going to show up to reach the goals of my purpose? So we go back to that VIP, and Robin's locked into her purpose. Her purpose is to impact the world, and she's building it. She's investing it. She's growing it. And that's what we want to invite you, our listeners, to begin to do today is dream. Are you willing to dream? Because where you start dreaming, we encounter the restoration. You were born and designed with a dream inside of you, and the AHRK path will help you let it flourish. And so, Robin, I take it back to you, and I ask, who's mentoring you? Who's encouraging you? What comes alongside? You've already mentioned a few names. What's ahead of you? I mean, you're Mrs. Kansas of 2021. What do you do next? And how are you going to invest to become more excellent?
That's a great question too. And I love that, the attitude of excellence, not perfection. When I'm out there competing and I'm putting myself on a stage, you better believe that as perfect as you perceive my performance to be, there are 20 people behind a computer screen typing out messages about everything that's wrong with what I'm doing. And so I have to pay very close attention to who I give my energy to. And I think that that's a lesson we can all pay attention to. I value the opinions of those who are in the arena with me, who are being courageous, and not so much for those who are not. So that's a fun piece to take with. But What am I doing next? I am taking it day by day. So every day, my schedule looks a little bit different. Every week, it looks even more different from the week before. And every day, I am waking up and I am acknowledging that I'm powerless over people, places, and things, that I am not God, that I cannot do this on my own. So I can't, you must. And I ask for the knowledge of God's will for my life and the power to carry that out. And that's what I do day by day by day. And week by week, year after year, it just gets better and better and better, and more opportunities come. You asked who's mentoring me. I've had some strong mentorships in my life. And I think that that's a really important part of our human experience, is to have excellent mentors and then to turn around and be that mentor for someone else. If you have 6 minutes more experience in an area than the next person behind you, then you have something to offer that person. And I've had family members who were great teachers of what to do and also what not to do. And as I continue to remain open to God's will for my life and being used in whatever way that is, and not having expectations about how I'll be used and what I need that plan to look like, the right people show up at the right moment. You know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that has been so true in my life. I have some stellar women who have stepped into my life and said, I believe in what you're doing. I see something in you. Let me help polish you. And then I zip my lips and I take the cotton out of my ears and I listen to everything they have to say.
And you've captured so many wisdom nuggets in here, this section of Restore, as you're just inviting people to recognize that your mind is set on the fact that anything is possible, and you're choosing to take it one step at a time, one breath at a time. And it was just really beautiful how you captured that in that element of saying, look, I have a big future, but what am I going to do today? And that's really where restoration is an action of today, not someday, not in the future. It's right now that you're going to impact the world, because you're going to show up and be present. And so as we look at confident and hope, Robin, you model what I would call, you're full of hope rather than being hopeful. A lot of people look at hopeful as a wish or a dream, and you're just full of hope. And you're full of hope because you have that confident experience of saying, I can get back up when I get knocked down. And that's the AHRK encounter, to say, look, I'm going to acknowledge where I was. I'm going to heal, lean forward, restore, build, and be mentored and mentor others, because I want to live a life of a kingdom celebration. Move into abundance of victory and success. And that victory and success isn't about winning the pageant. It's about achieving the opportunity to reach your purpose. And so, Robin, thank you for joining us. I'd love to give you one last thing. Could you give us a definition of hope in a kingdom sense?
Oh, yeah. So, gosh, there's so many, but the one that I always go back to when I'm working with other people, that's very easy to understand, is hope is faith with a track record. So what does the track record show me? You know, I've placed my hope into God, my higher power. What does that look like in my past? And can I trust it again? So start with the small things and then just watch the track record, watch that build. And as it does, that hope will grow and multiply. And pretty soon it'll be faith with a track record.
That is so beautiful, that hope is faith with a track record. And here on the AHRK Encounter, we follow a track. We call it a path. It's called the AHRK Path. And it is amazing on this journey because we want to set you up for success. We believe that each one of us is a pageantry level individual. And where we come to know that is when we live out our VIP. And so if you have any questions or doubts about your own VIP status, which is values, identity, and purpose, we want to invite you back. So I am excited to thank Robin Brock for joining us, Mrs. Kansas 2021. We'll hear more from you as we look at confidence and hope. But let me bounce it over to Maha and let her share with you how you can walk along the AHRK path today.
Wow. Well, I hope that inspired you to remove the things that stifle you and replace it with a mindset that will allow you to grow into who you are truly called to be. If you enjoyed what you heard today, come visit our website, arcpath.com, our social media at ARCpath, our Circles Now app. We also have a podcast and courses created by Casey Cox and Bernard Bashira. Thank you for tuning in to ARC Encounter. See you tomorrow.